The roar of the crowd shook the metal walls of the station. Day One stood at the observation window, watching as medics carried another broken body from the arena floor. The creature looked like it had been hit by a shuttle. Its blue blood left a trail across the white sand below. This was the third fighter this week. None of them lasted more than 5 minutes. The Krell champion stood in the center of the arena, arms raised in victory. Commander Rathtok was a monster of muscle and crystal. His scales gleamed under the bright lights, and the natural armor plates covering his body reflected every color. He was 8 feet tall and weighed more than 3 humans combined. For 17 years, no one had defeated a Krell in single combat. For 17 years, species after species sent their best warriors, and every single one fell. Day One turned away from the window. He had cargo to deliver and no interest in watching more senseless violence. The station corridors were crowded with aliens of every shape and size. Some celebrated the Krell victory. Others walked with their heads down, defeated. Humans kept to themselves here, moving quickly and avoiding eye contact. That was how things were now. He found the medical bay on the lower deck. Inside, the smell of chemicals and burnt flesh filled the air. Hyojin was working on the wounded fighter from earlier, her hands moving quickly over its injuries. She was the best human doctor on the station, which was why she never had a moment of rest. Every species that dared challenge the Krell ended up on her table. "You should not watch these fights," she said without looking up. She always knew when he visited. "They only make you angry." "Someone needs to remember their faces," Day One replied. He leaned against the doorframe, his arms crossed. "Someone needs to care that they died for nothing." Hyojin finally looked at him. Her eyes were tired, dark circles underneath from too many late nights. They died believing they could make a difference. "That is not nothing." The wounded alien made a gurgling sound. Its breathing was wrong, labored. Hyojin returned her attention to her patient. But Day One could see the frustration in her shoulders. She hated this as much as he did. Maybe more. She had to fix what the Krell broke, knowing her patients would never truly recover. "How long until the ultimatum expires?" he asked. 3 weeks, she said quietly. 3 weeks until the Krell claim the Outer Reach colonies as tribute. 15 million humans will become their property unless someone defeats their champion. 15 million. The number sat heavy in Day One's chest. He had friends in those colonies. Good people trying to build lives on the edge of known space. They would become slaves or worse, all because the Galactic Council decided combat rights were more important than justice. "The Council will not help?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "The Council is afraid. The ancient laws are clear. Combat determines territory rights. If we cannot prove our strength, we do not deserve our worlds." Hyojin's voice was bitter. "According to them, we should accept our place as a weak species." Day One said nothing. He watched her work for a few more minutes, then left without another word. The corridors felt smaller now, more suffocating. Everywhere he looked, he saw species that had accepted their positions. The small ones stayed small. The weak ones stayed weak. And the Krell grew stronger. He returned to his ship, a battered freighter that had seen better decades. Inside, everything was old but functional. He sat in the pilot's chair and stared at the control panel. His reflection looked back at him from the dark screen. Older than he felt. More tired than he should be. Before becoming a hauler, Day One had been a soldier. Not just any soldier, but special forces. His unit operated behind enemy lines during the Proxima Wars. The bloodiest conflict humanity had ever known. They were good at killing. Very good, too good. When the war ended, Day One tried to become something else. He thought hauling cargo across the galaxy would help him forget the things he had done, the things he was trained to do. But forgetting was not the same as healing. He opened a locked drawer beneath the console and pulled out an old photograph. 7 faces smiled back at him, young and confident in their combat gear. His squad. His family. All dead now, killed in an ambush 15 years ago. He was the only survivor, and some days he wished he was not. Youngsu, his squad leader, always said that strength without purpose was just violence. Purpose without strength was just a dream. A warrior needed both. Day One had forgotten that lesson when he left the military. He thought he could have purpose without strength, peace without the capacity for war. The station announcement system crackled to life. "Attention all residents. The Krell Dominion issues a reminder. 21 days remain before the human colonies are claimed as tribute. Any species wishing to challenge for combat rights may register at the Grand Arena office. Glory awaits the brave, death awaits the foolish. The message repeated in 15 different languages. Day One listened to each one, the words echoing in his small ship. Glory and death. Those were always the only two options in the arena. That night he could not sleep. He lay in his bunk, staring at the ceiling, thinking about 15 million people. Families, children, people who trusted that someone would protect them. People who believed humanity was strong enough to keep them safe. At 0300 station time, Day One rose from his bunk. He dressed in simple clothes and left his ship. The station was quieter now, most residents asleep. His footsteps echoed in the empty corridors. He knew where he was going before he admitted it to himself. The Grand Arena office was a small room near the fighter preparation area. Inside, a bored alien sat behind a desk watching videos on a screen. It looked up when Day One entered, its multiple eyes blinking in surprise. "We are closed," it said in broken human standard. "I want to register," Day One replied. The alien stared at him. "Register for what?"
"For combat."
"Against the Krell champion." The silence that followed was heavy. The alien's eyes moved over Day One's body, measuring him. Humans were not impressive physically. Average height, average weight, soft skin that tore easily. The alien started laughing, a wet, bubbling sound. "You wish to die?" it asked. "I wish to fight." The alien stopped laughing. Something in Day One's voice made it reconsider. It pulled up a registration form on its screen, hands moving slowly now, carefully. "Name?" "Day One, human, freight hauler." "Next of kin?" Day One thought of Hyojin. "Leave it blank." The alien processed his registration in silence. When it finished, it looked at him again, and this time there was something different in its expression. Pity, maybe, or respect for the soon-to-be dead. "The match will be in 10 days. Medical examination tomorrow. Training facilities are available if you wish to prepare." It paused, though I do not think preparation will matter. Day One took the registration chip and left. Outside, the station's artificial night lights created long shadows. He stood there for a moment, the chip warm in his hand, wondering if he had just committed suicide or saved 15 million lives. Probably both, he decided, and walked back to his ship. News traveled fast on the station. By morning, everyone knew a human had registered to fight the Krell champion. Some thought it was a joke. Others thought it was suicide. Hyojin thought it was both when she heard the name. She found Day One in the training facility, standing in front of a combat dummy. He had not hit it yet, just stood there staring at it like it held answers to questions he had not asked. "You are insane," she said from the doorway. He did not turn around. "Maybe. There are other ways to die, Day One. Quicker ways. Easier ways. I am not trying to die. Then what are you trying to do?" She walked closer, anger rising in her voice. "Prove something, be a hero? Heroes die on the arena floor. I have seen it 200 times." Finally, he turned to face her. His eyes looked different. Harder. Like something that had been sleeping was now waking up. 15 million people, Hyojin. Someone has to try. Why you? He had no answer for that. Or maybe he had too many answers and none of them made sense when spoken aloud. Instead, he turned back to the dummy and threw his first punch. It was not a good punch, not yet. But Hyojin saw something in the way he moved that made her stomach tight with fear. She left him there and went to file a report. Someone needed to document how he died. For the records. For the families that would ask questions. For history to remember that humans tried, even when trying was pointless. The medical examination happened that afternoon. Day One stood in a sterile room while machines scanned his body. The doctor, a tall creature with too many fingers, made clicking sounds as it read the results. "You have old injuries," it observed. "Many old injuries." "Military?" "Yes." "These scars here," the doctor pointed at Day One's chest, "indicate combat trauma. And here, you have been in serious fights before." "I have." The doctor looked at him with something like curiosity. "You understand the Krell champion has killed 197 opponents? You will be number 198. Or he will be my first," Day One replied. The doctor made a sound that might have been laughter. "Medically, you are cleared to fight. Mentally, I think you are damaged. But that is not my concern." After the examination, Day One returned to the training facility. Someone was waiting for him there. An old alien, skin like leather, eyes that had seen too many years. It stood perfectly still, watching him enter. "You are the human fighter," it said. "Not a question, I am. I am called the Architect. I train warriors who wish to live beyond their first match." The alien moved closer, circling Daewon slowly. "But I do not usually train dead men." "I am not dead yet." "No. But you fight the Krell, so you will be." The Architect stopped in front of him. "Unless you are different." "Are you different, human?" Daewon thought about his answer. "I do not know." "Good, honest," the Architect nodded. "Dishonest warriors die surprised. Honest warriors die prepared. Which death do you prefer?" "Neither. I prefer to win." This time the Architect's laugh was real. "Then we begin. Show me how you fight." For the next 3 hours, Daewon fought training dummies, holographic opponents, and finally the Architect itself. Every time he attacked, the Architect countered. Every time he defended, the Architect found openings. By the end, Daewon was covered in sweat and breathing hard. "You know how to fight," the Architect said, "but you fight like you are afraid." "I am not afraid." "Liar. You are terrified. Not of death. Of something else." The alien's eyes narrowed. "What are you afraid of, human?" Daewon did not answer immediately. He sat on the floor, his back against the wall, and let the question sit heavy in the air. What was he afraid of? Not the Krell, not dying. Something deeper. "I am afraid of what I become when I fight," he finally said. The Architect made a pleased sound.
Now we reach the truth."
"You were a warrior once. A good one. But something happened and you ran away from what you were. Now you must become that warrior again, and it terrifies you." "Yes." "Good. Fear is useful. Fear keeps you sharp." The Architect sat down across from him. "But you cannot win while fighting yourself and the Krell. You must choose. Be the warrior or be the dead man." That night, Daewon dreamed of Proxima. The war, his squad. They were moving through enemy territory, 7 soldiers against an entire battalion. Young-Soo led them through the darkness, hand signals silent and precise. They were good, the best. Humanity's answer to impossible missions. Then the ambush. Explosions, gunfire, screaming. Young-Soo went down first, his chest torn open by plasma fire. The others fell one by one, and Daewon kept fighting. Something took over his mind, something primal and terrible. He did not remember the next 3 days clearly, but when rescue teams found him, he was the only one alive. Surrounded by 60 enemy corpses, covered in blood. No longer entirely human, they called it combat psychosis. Berserker state. Survival instinct pushed beyond normal limits. The doctor said it saved his life. Daewon thought it stole his soul. He woke up gasping, the dream still clinging to his mind like smoke. Someone was knocking on his ship's door. He checked the time. 400. Too early for visitors. Outside stood a woman he had never seen before. She was human, middle-aged, with kind eyes and tired face. "I am Borum," she said. "I am a psychologist. The station assigned me to you. I do not need a psychologist. All arena fighters get psychological support. It is required." She stepped inside without waiting for invitation. "Besides, Heejin asked me to check on you. She is worried." They sat in his small living space, drinking coffee that tasted like metal. Boram did not ask about the fight. Instead, she asked about his life. His work, his past. Slowly, carefully, she drew out his story. "You think you are broken," she said after listening for an hour. "I know I am broken." "No. You are wounded. Wounds can heal." She leaned forward. "What happened on Proxima was not your fault. You survived. That is not a crime. I became something I hate. You became what you needed to become to live. That is not weakness, Daewon. That is strength." She paused. "And now you need that strength again. Not to destroy yourself, but to protect others." Her words stayed with him through the following days. Training became his life. The Architect taught him things about combat he had forgotten or never known. The Krell's crystalline armor was nearly indestructible, but nearly was not the same as completely. Every material had a resonance frequency. The right strike at the right angle could shatter even crystal. "You must be fast," the Architect explained. "Faster than you think possible. The Krell is strong but slow. Use that. Speed alone will not win. No, you need more." The Architect showed him footage of previous Krell fights. "Watch. The champion always opens with the same move. He tests his opponent's strength first. Then he adapts. You must not let him adapt. You must become unpredictable. Day-One watched the videos over and over. He saw the pattern. The Krell was a tactician, studying his opponents before destroying them. That was his strength and his weakness. If Day-One could break the pattern, become chaos instead of order, he might have a chance. Might. 3 days before the match, Hye-Jin visited him again. She brought food and sat with him while he ate. They did not talk about the fight. Instead, they talked about simple things. The stars. The colonies. What they would do if they could go anywhere. I would go home, she said quietly. Back to Earth, see my family again. Why do you not? Same reason you do not. Running away is easier than facing what we left behind. She smiled sadly. We are both cowards, Day-One. Maybe. But in 3 days I will stop running. She reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were warm, real, alive. Do not die, she whispered. Please do not die. He wanted to promise her that. Wanted to say he would win and everything would be fine. But promises meant nothing in the arena. So instead he squeezed her hand and said nothing. The night before the fight, Day-One stood alone in the empty arena. The sand was clean now, no bloodstains visible. Above, the lights were dim. Tomorrow they would be bright and thousands would watch him fight. Watch him win or watch him die. He thought about Young-Soo, about his squad, about every person who ever believed he was worth something. He thought about 15 million colonists who did not know his name but needed him anyway. Then he thought about himself, about the warrior he used to be, the monster he was afraid of becoming. And he made a choice. Tomorrow he would stop being afraid. The arena was full. Thousands of beings from hundreds of species packed the stands, their voices creating a sound like thunder. They came to watch another human die, entertainment for a boring afternoon. Day-One stood in the preparation room, listening to the crowd through the walls. His hands were steady. That surprised him. Hye-Jin was there, checking him one last time. Her medical scanner passed over his body, reading his vitals. Your heart rate is too slow, she said. You should be nervous. I am nervous. You do not look nervous. You look... She paused, searching for the word. Empty. Empty was accurate. Day-One had spent the night letting go of everything. Fear, hope, anger, all of it. He needed to be a blank space ready to fill with whatever the fight required. The architect called it combat clarity. Young-Soo called it becoming the weapon instead of wielding it. I will be watching, Hye-Jin said quietly. From the medical bay. If you fall, I will come for you immediately. If I fall, I will already be dead. Then do not fall. She touched his face gently, a gesture so human and warm it almost broke through his emptiness. Almost. Come back, Day-One. Come back to us, the door opened. A guard gestured for him to follow. Time to face the Krell champion. Time to become what he needed to be. The walk to the arena felt long and short at the same time. Each step brought him closer to something he could not take back. When he emerged into the light, the crowd noise hit him like a physical force. Thousands of eyes turned to watch the small human walk across the sand. On the opposite side, Commander Rathtok waited. Even from a distance, the Krell was terrifying. 8 feet of muscle and crystal, scales gleaming like polished metal. His armor plates caught the light and threw it back in sharp angles. This was a creature built for war, evolved for it, perfect for it. Day-One walked to the center of the arena. The sand was soft under his feet, already warm from the lights. Rathtok approached from the other side, each footstep heavy enough to feel through the ground. They stopped 10 feet apart. You are the human challenger? Rathtok's voice was deep, each word rumbling like distant thunder. I am. I have killed 197 opponents. You will be 198. The Krell showed his teeth sharp and white. But I will make it quick. I respect courage, even foolish courage. Day-One said nothing. Words were pointless now. The arena announcer began speaking, listing rules and regulations, but Day-One did not listen. He watched Rathtok, studied his stance, his breathing, the way his weight shifted. The architect was right. The Krell had patterns. The announcer finished. A bell rang. The fight began. Rathtok moved first, exactly as the video showed. A straight charge, testing Day-One's strength. The Krell expected his opponent to either dodge or try to block. Most species did one or the other. Day-One did neither. He stepped forward into the charge, slipping inside Rathtok's reach and struck at the champion's knee joint. The blow landed perfectly. Rathtok stumbled, surprised. No one moved toward a charging Krell. It went against every survival instinct. But surprise only lasted a second. The Krell recovered, spinning faster than something his size should move. His backhand swing caught Day One in the ribs and sent him flying. The impact drove the air from Day One's lungs. He hit the sand hard, rolled, and forced himself up. His entire left side screamed in pain. At least 2 ribs cracked. Maybe 3. He had been hit by shuttles that hurt less. The crowd roared. First blood to the Krell. Expected normal entertainment. Rathtalk advanced slower now, more careful. You are quick, but quickness will not save you. He swung again, a massive fist aimed at Day One's head. Day One ducked under it and countered with 2 rapid strikes to Rathtalk's ribs. The crystalline armor absorbed most of the impact, but not all. The Krell grunted. Surprised again. The human was stronger than he looked. They separated, circling. Day One's breathing was controlled despite his broken ribs. Pain was just information. He could process information. Rathtalk was studying him now, trying to understand his pattern. Day One could not let him. The moment the Krell understood, the fight was over. So he changed. Attacked from angles that made no tactical sense. Moved in patterns that contradicted basic combat theory. Became unpredictable, random chaos. Rathtalk tried to adapt, but Day One would not let him. Every time the Krell thought he understood, Day One shifted again. High strikes became low strikes. Speed became power. Retreat became aggression. The human fought like 3 different fighters in the same body. But the Krell was stronger. Much stronger. Each hit Day One took felt like being crushed by machinery. His left arm stopped working properly. His vision blurred from a strike that grazed his temple. Blood ran into his eyes from a cut on his forehead. The crowd was silent now. This was lasting longer than expected. The human should be dead already, should be broken on the sand. Instead, he kept fighting, kept moving, kept striking. Rathtalk roared in frustration and charged again, this time with killing intent. No more testing, no more caution. Just overwhelming force. Day One saw it coming and made a choice. Instead of dodging, instead of blocking, he let something inside himself break free. The berserker state. Everything changed. The world became sharp and clear. Time slowed. His pain disappeared, locked away in some distant part of his mind. Every movement became instinct instead of thought. This was what he feared, what he ran from. The part of himself that was not quite human anymore. Young Su once told him that humans survived for thousands of years not because they were strong, but because when cornered, they became something terrible, something that would not stop, would not quit, would tear through obstacles with bare hands and pure will. Most species had abandoned that primitive rage when they evolved. Humans never did. They just buried it deep and pretended it did not exist. Now Day One stopped pretending. He met Rathtalk's charge head-on. The Krell's fist came down like a hammer, and Day One caught it. His arms shook from the force, his feet dug into the sand, but he held. The crowd gasped. Impossible. A human could not match a Krell's strength. Except Day One was not matching it with strength alone. He was channeling it, redirecting it, using the Krell's own power against him. He twisted, pulling Rathtalk off balance, and drove his knee into the champion's chest plate. Once, twice, 3 times. The same spot, the same angle, creating resonance. Crystal was strong, but it was brittle. Hit it wrong, it absorbed everything. Hit it right at the correct frequency, and it shattered. The chest plate cracked. Rathtalk staggered back, staring at his armor in disbelief. In 17 years, no one had damaged his crystalline plates. The crowd erupted in noise, some cheering, some screaming. This was not supposed to happen. "What are you?" Rathtalk asked, and for the first time there was uncertainty in his voice. Day One did not answer. Could not answer. Language felt distant and unimportant. He advanced, and now it was the Krell who retreated. The champion tried to mount a defense, but Day One was relentless. Every strike targeted weak points. Every movement flowed into the next without pause. This was not human fighting. This was something older, something primal. The architect was right. Speed and unpredictability were important. But what one fights was the willingness to do whatever necessary. To go beyond limits. To become more than you were. Rathtalk fought back desperately. His strikes were powerful enough to kill any normal being. But Day One was not normal anymore. He took hits that should have ended the fight and kept moving. Pain meant nothing. Damage meant nothing. Only victory mattered. The cracked chest plate spread wider with each impact. Day One could see the vulnerable flesh beneath now. One more hit. Just one more. Rathtok must have seen it in his eyes. The killing intent. The absolute refusal to stop. The champion tried one final charge, putting everything into a devastating strike. Day One stepped into it too close inside the arc of the blow. His fist drove into the cracked chest plate with every ounce of force his body could generate. The crystal shattered completely. Rathtok's eyes went wide. He stumbled backward, one hand clutching his chest. Blood dark and thick ran between his fingers. The great champion, undefeated for 17 years, fell to his knees in the sand. The arena went absolutely silent. Day One stood over him, breathing hard, his body screaming in pain now that the berserker rage was fading. He wanted to collapse, wanted to let the darkness take him. But he stayed standing, stayed conscious. The fight was not over until someone could not continue. Rathtok looked up at him with something like respect. "I yield," he said quietly. The human wins. The silence shattered. The crowd erupted in chaos. Some cheered, some booed, some simply sat in shock, unable to process what they had witnessed. The guards rushed into the arena, unsure whether to protect the fallen champion or the victorious human. Day One stood there alone in the center of the arena and felt everything crash back into him at once. Pain, exhaustion, horror at what he had become to win. He had opened the door to his demons and let them out. Now he would have to live with that. His legs gave out. The sand felt cool against his cheek. Voices shouted around him. Hands lifted him gently. Heejin's face appeared above him, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You won," she whispered. "You actually won." Day One tried to smile but could not remember how. Day One woke up 3 days later in the medical bay. Everything hurt. Not the sharp pain of fresh injuries, but the deep ache of a body pushed beyond its limits. Heijin sat beside his bed, her head resting on her arms. She was asleep, exhausted from keeping him alive. He tried to move and immediately regretted it. His ribs were wrapped tight, his left arm in a brace. Bandages covered half his face. He felt like he had fought a war, not a single match. Maybe he had. The movement woke Heijin. Her eyes opened, and when she saw him conscious, relief flooded her face. "You are awake. Thank the stars. I was beginning to worry you would sleep forever." "How long?" His voice came out rough, like he had swallowed sand. 3 days. Your body needed time to heal. You sustained 14 broken bones, internal bleeding, severe bruising, and a concussion. She checked his vitals automatically, her hands moving with practiced efficiency. "You should be dead, Day One. By all medical logic, you should be dead. Sorry to disappoint. Do not joke. Not about this." She looked at him seriously. "What you did in the arena, that was not normal. You fought past your limits, past what any human should be able to endure." "How?" He did not answer immediately. How could he explain the berserker state to someone who had never experienced it? The feeling of becoming something other than human? "I did what was necessary," he finally said. Before Heijin could respond, the door opened. Boram entered, followed by someone Day One did not know. A young man, maybe 20 years old, carrying a case full of equipment. He looked nervous and excited at the same time. "This is Sunwoo," Boram said. "He is an engineer. He heard about your fight and wants to help." Sunwoo bowed quickly, almost dropping his case. "I watched the match recordings 57 times. The way you struck the Krell's armor, the resonance frequency you achieved, it was incredible. But I think I can help you do it better, more efficiently." "Why would you do that?" Day One asked. "Because you are not finished fighting." Sunwoo opened his case, revealing pieces of metal and circuitry. "The Krell Dominion invoked the blood challenge. They claim your victory was luck. They demand you face their 3 elite champions one after another, or your win is nullified." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. 3 Krell champions, consecutive fights, no rest between matches. It was designed to be impossible. A way to erase his victory without admitting defeat. "When?" Day One asked. 2 weeks. The Galactic Council approved it. They say if you refuse, the original ultimatum stands. Boram sat on the edge of his bed. "The entire galaxy is watching now. You gave humanity hope. The Krell want to crush that hope publicly." Day One closed his eyes. 2 weeks to heal from injuries that should take months to recover from. 2 weeks to prepare for 3 fights that would each be harder than the last. 2 weeks to learn to control the monster inside him before it consumed him completely. "I will do it," he said. "Of course you will," Heijin said bitterly, "because you are incapable of choosing the sensible option. You could walk away, Day One. You already proved humans are not weak. No one would blame you for refusing. 15 million people would blame me. She had no answer for that. They both knew he was right. Walking away now would betray everyone who believed in him. Everyone who thought humanity deserved respect. Sunwoo cleared his throat. I can build you equipment that will help. Gloves that amplify the resonance effect. Something to protect your hands when you strike crystalline armor, and maybe a sensor system that identifies weak points faster. No weapons, Daewon said. Arena rules prohibit them. These are not weapons. They are protective gear. The rules allow that. Sunwoo smiled nervously. I have checked, thoroughly. Over the next 2 weeks, Sunwoo became a constant presence. He built and rebuilt his designs, testing each version. The gloves he created were thin but reinforced with materials that vibrated at specific frequencies. They would not make Daewon stronger, but they would make his strikes more effective against crystal armor. Meanwhile, Miran arrived at the station. She was a human diplomat, sent by Earth to negotiate terms for the blood challenge. She was sharp and professional, the kind of person who could argue with alien bureaucrats and win. She made sure the rules were clear and fair, that no tricks would be used to disadvantage Daewon. The 3 champions are being brought from the Krell homeworld, she explained during one of her visits to medical. The first is called Kresh, known for speed and precision. The second is Thok, a massive warrior who specializes in endurance. The third is High Commander Vrok himself, the leader of the Krell Dominion's military. He has never lost a fight. Have you seen them fight? Daewon asked. I watched recordings. Kresh kills his opponents in under 3 minutes. Thok breaks them slowly, making the fights last. Vrok. She paused. Vrok is different. He studies his opponents, learns their patterns, then defeats them using their own strategies against them. He is a tactician. Daewon absorbed this information. 3 different fighting styles, 3 different challenges, and he would face them all with a body barely healed from the last fight. The architect visited often, bringing training routines that Daewon could do despite his injuries. You cannot build strength in 2 weeks, the old alien said. But you can sharpen your mind. Combat is not just physical. They worked on meditation techniques, mental exercises that helped Daewon control the berserker state instead of being controlled by it. The architect taught him to find the edge between human and monster, to walk that line without falling off completely. The rage saved you last time, the architect explained, but rage alone will not win 3 fights. You must be smart and savage, controlled and wild. You must become the balanced warrior. Boram helped with the psychological aspects. She taught Daewon how to compartmentalize pain, how to keep fighting when his body screamed to stop. They talked about fear and courage, about the difference between surviving and living. You are afraid of losing yourself, she said during one session, afraid that if you embrace the warrior completely, you will never return to being just Daewon. That is accurate. Then we make sure you have something to return to, someone to anchor you. She looked at him meaningfully.
Heejin cares about you.
More than you realize. When you fight, remember her. Remember what you are protecting. That will keep you human. Heejin stayed by his side through everything. She monitored his healing, pushed him to rest when he trained too hard, and talked with him late into the night when sleep would not come. They grew closer, finding comfort in each other's presence. I am terrified, she admitted one night. Not just that you will lose, that you will win and hate yourself for what you had to become. I already hate what I am. No, you hate what you think you are. You see a monster. I see someone willing to sacrifice everything to protect others. That is not a monster, Daewon. That is a hero. Heroes die. Everyone dies. Heroes die for something that matters. The day of the blood challenge arrived too quickly. Daewon's body was healed enough to fight but not fully recovered. His ribs still ached. His left arm was weaker than before. But he was out of time. Sunwoo fitted him with the specialized gloves. They felt natural, like a second skin. Remember, strike the same point repeatedly. Let the resonance build. The armor will crack. Miran reviewed the rules one final time. 3 fights. 30 minutes rest between each. Medical attention is allowed during rest periods, but nothing that enhances performance. No drugs, no stimulants. You fight with what you have. The architect stood with him before he entered the arena. You have learned much in 2 weeks. More than most learn in years. But knowledge means nothing if you do not trust yourself. Trust your training. Trust your instincts. Trust that you can win. The arena was even more crowded than last time. Word had spread across the galaxy. Species from every corner of known space wanted to witness this. The human who defeated a Krell. Could he do it again? 3 times? Day-Wan walked onto the sand and the crowd noise hit him like a wave. But this time he did not feel empty. He felt focused, ready. Hyejin's face appeared in his mind, anchoring him to his humanity. Across the arena, 3 Krell warriors waited. Each one was terrifying in their own way. Kresh was lean and fast-looking, his armor darker than Rathok's. Thok was enormous, nearly 9 feet tall, with muscles that looked carved from stone, and High Commander Vrok stood between them, watching Day-Wan with intelligent eyes that missed nothing. The announcer spoke, but Day-Wan barely heard. His attention was on Kresh, who stepped forward first. The speedster. The precision killer. 3 minutes average fight time. The bell rang. Kresh moved like lightning, crossing the arena in seconds. His strikes came fast and accurate, targeting vital points with surgical precision. Day-Wan barely blocked the first combination, and the second one got through his defense, catching him in the stomach. But Day-Wan had learned. He absorbed the pain, processed it, and adapted. Kresh was fast, but speed required patterns. Everything that moves quickly follows predictable paths. Day-Wan watched, waited, and found the pattern. When Kresh attacked again, Day-Wan was ready. He stepped into the strike, too close for the Krell to adjust, and drove his gloved fist into Kresh's knee joint. The resonance effect was immediate. Crystal cracked. Kresh stumbled. The fight became brutal. Kresh's speed versus Day-Wan's adaptability. Thok lived up to his reputation. He was not trying to win quickly. He was trying to destroy Day-Wan piece by piece. Each strike was measured, calculated to cause maximum pain without ending the fight. The massive Krell was an artist of suffering. Day-Wan tried to use the same tactics that worked against Kresh, but Thok was too strong and too armored. His crystal plates were thicker, harder to crack. Every punch Day-Wan landed felt like hitting a mountain. Meanwhile, every hit he took felt like being crushed by one. 10 minutes into the fight, Day-Wan's right hand broke. He felt the bones snap when his fist connected with Thok's chest armor. The pain was blinding, but he could not stop. He switched to his left hand, to his elbows, to his knees. Anything that could strike. Thok laughed, a deep rumbling sound. You are tough, human. I respect that. But tough is not enough. You will break. They all break. The fight became a nightmare. Day-Wan could barely see through the blood in his eyes. His body was failing, shutting down from accumulated damage. He had nothing left. No tricks, no tactics, just will. And will was not enough. Thok grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Yield, human. There is no shame in it. You fought well, better than most. Day-Wan tried to speak but could not. His vision was going dark. This was it, the end. He had failed. 15 million people would pay the price for his failure. Then he thought of Hyejin, her face, her voice, her belief in him. She said he was not a monster. She said he was a hero. Maybe she was right. Maybe the monster inside him was not something to fear, but something to embrace, not as darkness, but as strength. He stopped fighting the berserker state. Instead, he welcomed it. Let it flood through him completely. But this time, he kept his mind, kept his control, became the balanced warrior the architect spoke about. Human and monster, controlled and wild. His hand shot up and grabbed Thok's wrist. His other hand, broken and useless, did not matter. He had other weapons. He had teeth. Day-Wan bit into Thok's arm, tearing through the softer tissue between armor plates. The Krell roared in surprise and pain, dropping him. Before Thok could recover, Day-Wan was on him, attacking with everything he had left. Head, elbows, knees, feet. Every part of his body became a weapon. The crowd was screaming now. This was not normal combat. This was something primal and terrifying. This was what humans could become when everything else was stripped away. Not civilized, not gentle. Pure survival. Thok tried to fight back, but Day-Wan was beyond reason now. He found a crack in the massive Krell's armor and drove his elbow into it repeatedly. Once, twice, 10 times, 20 times. The crystal shattered. Blood sprayed. Thok fell to his knees, clutching his side. I yield, he gasped. I yield. 2 down. Day-Wan stood there, swaying, barely conscious. His body was destroyed. His right hand hung useless. Blood covered him from head to toe, most of it his own. The 30-minute rest period began, but he knew it was not enough. Nothing would be enough. Hyejin ran onto the sand again, tears streaming down her face. No more, please, no more. You will die if you fight again. I know, he whispered, but I have to try. She worked frantically, using every medical technique she knew. Boram helped, feeding him water and nutrients his body desperately needed. Sunwoo adjusted the gloves on his remaining good hand, his own face pale with worry. The High Commander is different, Miran said quietly, kneeling beside him. He has been watching you, studying your patterns. He knows everything about how you fight now. Daewon nodded slowly. He understood. Vrock was the tactician. He would use Daewon's own strategies against him. Speed and unpredictability would not work. The berserker rage would not work. Everything he had used to win the first two fights was now known. Then I need something new, he said. What? The architect asked, appearing from the crowd. What do you have left, human? Daewon thought about that question. What did he have left? No strength, no speed. No tactics Vrock had not seen. Nothing except his refusal to quit. His inability to give up, even when giving up was the logical choice. I have stubbornness, he finally answered. Humans are very good at being stubborn. The rest period ended too quickly. Daewon forced himself to stand one more time. His legs shook. His vision blurred, but he stood. High Commander Vrock walked onto the sand with measured steps. He was not as big as Thok or as fast as Kresh. He looked almost normal by Krell standards, but his eyes were intelligent and calculating. This was the most dangerous opponent yet. You have impressed me, human, Vrock said, his voice calm and professional. You defeated 2 elite warriors while severely injured. That takes courage and skill. I respect that. But you will still fight me. Of course, honor demands it. Vrock settled into a fighting stance. I have watched you carefully. I know how you move. I know your patterns. I know that you rely on the berserker state when desperate. I am prepared for everything you can do. Then I will do something you do not expect. There is nothing you can do that I do not expect. That is why I always win. The bell rang for the final time. Vrock attacked immediately, not giving Daewon time to think. But his attacks were not brutal. They were precise, scientific, targeting injuries from the previous fights. He struck Daewon's broken ribs, his damaged arm, his wounded stomach. Each hit was calculated for maximum efficiency. Daewon tried to fight back, but Vrock countered everything. Every punch Daewon threw, Vrock blocked. Every combination Daewon attempted, Vrock disrupted. It was like fighting a mirror that knew his moves before he made them. 3 minutes in, Daewon was on his knees. Vrock stood over him, barely breathing hard. You fought well. But I am the superior warrior. Yield and I will end this with honor. Daewon looked up at him. Blood dripped from his face onto the sand. He should yield. Any rational person would yield. His body was broken beyond repair. Victory was impossible. But humans were not always rational. He thought about Young-Soo and his squad. About 15 million colonists. About Hyejin believing in him. About every human who ever refused to quit when quitting was the smart choice. About the fact that humanity survived for thousands of years not because they were the strongest or fastest or smartest, but because they were too stubborn to know when they were beaten. Daewon stood up. Vrock's eyes widened slightly. You should not be able to stand. I should not be able to do a lot of things. They fought again. Vrock continued his systematic destruction. But something was different now. Daewon was not trying to win anymore. He was not trying to do anything except continue. 1 more second. 1 more breath. 1 more step. He stopped fighting smart and started fighting simple. Just move forward. Just keep striking. Ignore the pain. Ignore the damage. Ignore everything except the next moment. Vrock adapted his tactics, but there was nothing to adapt to. Daewon had no strategy. No plan, just forward motion. Relentless and stupid and somehow effective because Vrock had prepared for everything except pure stubbornness. The High Commander's attacks began to slow. Not from fatigue, but from confusion. He could not understand what he was seeing. The human should be dead. Should have stopped fighting minutes ago. But he kept coming. Kept striking. Kept refusing to fall. What are you? Vrock asked. And for the first time there was something other than confidence in his voice. What drives you? Daewon did not answer. Could not answer. Language was beyond him now. Only movement remained. Only the next punch. The next step. He hit Vrock's chest armor with his broken hand. Pain exploded up his arm, but he hit it again. And again. The same spot. Over and over. No technique. No resonance frequency. Just repetition. Stupid, stubborn repetition. The crystal began to crack. Vrock tried to stop him, but Day One would not be stopped. He pressed forward, accepting every counterstrike, ignoring every hit, focusing only on that one spot. 50 strikes, 100 strikes. He lost count. The armor shattered. Vrock staggered backward, clutching his chest, staring at Day One in disbelief. Impossible. You should be dead. You should have stopped. Humans do not know when to stop, Day One said through broken teeth. That is why we survive. He threw one final punch, putting everything he had left into it. His fist connected with Vrock's exposed chest. The High Commander fell. The arena went completely silent. 10,000 beings held their breath, unable to process what they had witnessed. The human had done the impossible. 3 Krell champions. 3 victories. Against all logic and reason, Day One stood over Vrock, swaying like a tree in wind. He tried to say something to declare victory, but the darkness finally claimed him. He fell forward onto the sand and did not move. The silence shattered. Some species cheered. Others sat in shock. The Krell delegation stood frozen, unable to accept what had happened. Their 3 best warriors defeated by one broken human. He-Jin reached him first, screaming his name. Medical teams swarmed the arena. They worked on him for what felt like hours, fighting to keep him alive. His heart stopped twice. They brought him back both times. 5 weeks passed before Day One woke again. This time, recovery took longer. His body needed time to remember how to be a body instead of a weapon. He-Jin stayed with him through everything, her hands gentle when they changed his bandages, her voice soft when the nightmares came. When he finally left the medical bay, walking on his own 2 feet, the station was different.